We have reached the end of the week. It is Friday night, and that means it is another Smackdown here on the Solomonster Sounds Off channel. It is Friday, April 19, 2024, one day before 420. Sure, a lot of you people will be celebrating. Tonight, though, we're talking about WWE Smackdown. We have the Bloodline story continuing tonight. Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga on the show with Paul Heyman. Still no Roman Reigns. I don't expect to see him for a while. But we had a few more developments in that story where Kevin Owens has now been roped into this Bloodline story. We also know who will be challenging Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship coming up in France at Backlash next month. Cody has a challenger, and it's actually somebody that he's never set foot in the ring with before. So we're getting a first-time ever match at Backlash. We had a number one contenders match tonight between AJ Styles and LA Knight. A WrestleMania rematch between those two. That was not the main event on this show, though. The main event of tonight's show was for the Women's Championship with Bayley in her first title defense, putting the title on the line against her good friend Naomi. We do not have a new Women's Champion, although it looks like we may be in for a triple threat match at Backlash based on the finish of tonight's main event. Because if you thought that Tiffany Stratton was out of the picture just by losing to Naomi last week, Tiffany Stratton was right there. She was the final person that we saw at the end of SmackDown tonight. And I have a feeling that we may be headed for a triple threat match at Backlash. We also learned via a commercial break, how WWE is going to crown a new Women's World Champion on Raw this coming Monday night. If you missed it, Rhea Ripley showed up at the beginning of the show on Monday night. She vacated the Women's World title due to injury, unfortunately. They did not mention how the new champion was going to be determined. All they said was that this coming Monday, a new champion would be crowned. In the commercial they showed tonight, they mentioned Battle Royale. I figured that's what it was going to be. I mean, look, you're doing a one-night, whether it's a match or a tournament or whatever, you know they're crowning a champion in one night. And even though you got 3 hours to fill, you could have a one-night tournament if you wanted to. Battle Royal, they love doing Battle Royals every now and then. I'm not totally surprised by that. I think that bodes well for Liv Morgan or Nia Jax. But that is how we will get a new Women's World Champion coming up on Monday night. We also, speaking of titles, I am going to show you what the new SmackDown Tag Team titles look like. We had brand new belts unveiled on Raw. Monday night, the new World Tag Team titles, which followed a very familiar pattern, if you are familiar with the other titles on the Raw brand. So I came into tonight figuring, man, I could keep my eyes closed and picture what these new belts are going to look like. And I am very happy to say that I was wrong. We have new belts and they look damn good. Why did it take this long? Why couldn't we have belts like this for the last 5 years, 10 years? Why did it take this long? I'm going to show you what those belts look like. But before we even get into anything that actually happened on SmackDown tonight, we have breaking news. And this actually broke during the show tonight. A former WWE champion is gone from the company. And he's not the only one. There are actually 3 people that we know of, at least so far, who are gone from WWE. But we'll start with the former WWE champion. Did I rope you in with that one? The former WWE champion that was released, although based on what he tweeted, he claims he quit. But the former champion who is no longer with the company as of tonight, Jinder Mahal. Jinder has been hindered by WWE. He is gone. Xia Li, gone. And Zion Quinn. It's a bad night to be somebody in WWE that has an X at the beginning of their name. It's a good thing Sean Waltman doesn't work there anymore. Zion Quinn. I know some of you may be thinking, who? What? What's that? Zion Quinn was from NXT. Zion Quinn is someone they made a free agent in case they wanted to use them on the main roster. Zion Quinn is no longer in WWE. But yeah, Jinder Mahal, 12 years in total with WWE. This is not the first time that Jinder has been released by the company. There was a gap there of about probably a couple of years where he was gone from the company before they brought him back. But in total, it was about 12 years from the day he entered developmental until today in his release. And that's a pretty long period of time. And in that time, he did win championships, right? And then he won the United States Championship at one point. But he also became WWE champion back in 2017. He beat Randy Orton, had a 6-month reign as the champion before AJ Styles beat him right before Survivor Series, where it would have been Jinder Mahal one-on-one against Brock Lesnar, because back then it was champion against champion, Raw versus SmackDown at Survivor Series. That was what they did back then. And it was like a week before, maybe not even a week. It might have been less than a week before Survivor Series. They got that fucking title off him real quick. And they put that belt on AJ Styles. And we ended up getting a great match at Survivor Series that year with AJ and Brock. I love that match. But this is a man who got 6 months as the WWE champion. And it came at the expense of Shinsuke Nakamura. I really believe that Shinsuke Nakamura was really more than anything else. He was a victim of bad timing. Because it just so happened that when he came into WWE at that time, got called up, whatever, Jinder was the champion. They were pushing him. Vince McMahon, he had a thing for Jinder at that time. He's my guy. We're going to put him with Shinsuke. That way we'll try to get some good matches out of it. And Shinsuke Nakamura had to work with Jinder Mahal, lose to Jinder Mahal. He never did get that WWE title. But that was his his peak in the company. And then, of course, disappeared in recent years, but then reappeared at the beginning of the year. Had a segment on Raw with The Rock. I think it was the very first Raw of the year, right? Day one. Got laid out by The Rock. And there was a whole big controversy. Tony Khan on social media, tweeting about Jinder. Hook got involved. It was a whole thing. Now, Jinder on Twitter said, "I quit." This is what he said in his tweet. He said, "I quit, Maharaja out." And he put an emoji at the end of that with a money bag. If you look at his Twitter bio, it says free agent 90 days. So you can begin the countdown right now. It'll be 90 days before Tony Khan scoops up Jinder to bring him in to do the job for Hook. Mark my words. Not much else to say about it. You know, Jinder's going to do fine. I'll tell you something, you know, you can talk about Jinder and the Jinder is hindered and all this other stuff. Jinder Mahal was not going anywhere in WWE. He just wasn't. You know, he had that run. He could always say he was WWE champion, but at this stage in the game, he wasn't going anywhere in this company. Jinder is going to hit the independent scene, and I actually think, and in part because he was such a familiar face for so long and he is a former world champion, Jinder, I think, is going to do well for himself on the independent scene. So when he puts free agent 90 days with a little fire emoji in his bio, I think he's going to do well on the indie scene. They sure as hell weren't doing anything with him in WWE. So it's one of those things where whether he quit or whether he was fired, whatever it was, it's for the best. Because again, I think he's going to be able to go out there now. And I think he'll be able to call his own shots. He'll be able to book his own shots. He'll probably do very well. And at least he'll be active. In WWE, he wasn't active. You know, he's just kind of wasting away. Some people are happy to do that and collect a paycheck. Other people want to get out there, right? They want to work. They want to be doing something. Obviously, WWE was not doing anything with him. You know, he was managing Indus Sher. When was the last time we saw Indus Sher on TV? Right? Once recently. It's not like they're doing anything with them either. Xia Li was also released by the company. She posted a message. I'll read that message to you now. Unlike Jinder, who said, "I quit, Maharaja out," she was a little more diplomatic here in her response. She said, "It has been over 7 years since I joined WWE, and as the first female Chinese superstar." And it's true, you know, when they first signed her, they made a very big deal about the fact that she was the first Chinese born, I believe, WWE star. And yeah, they've been trying to break into all kinds of international markets over the years. So they had high hopes for her and then ended up not doing anything really with her. But she said, "I feel incredibly proud. I am sincerely grateful to WWE and Triple H for welcoming me into this big family. During this valuable time, I have not only grown tremendously, but also learned countless invaluable experiences. Thank you for your trust and the opportunities you have given me to break barriers and set an example. Special thank you to all the coaches, colleagues, and staff who have helped me along the way. Your support and assistance have made me feel at home in a foreign land. I also want to thank all of the WWE fans. And then she goes on to say, this journey has been wonderful. I sincerely thank everybody who has been a part of it. This is not the end, but a new beginning. Let's embrace more exciting moments together. What a positive, uplifting message there. An appropriate sound effect for these three that have been let go from their jobs, but a very positive, uplifting message there from Xia Li. So she's keeping a positive attitude about it. That's good to see. 7 years, yeah, it didn't feel like 7 years. It didn't feel like 7 years because, again, they didn't really do anything with her. I remember when they first called her up to the main roster, and those vignettes that they put together for her, almost like comic book-like vignettes, were very well done. I mean, as far as introducing a new character, I thought they pretty much hit the nail on the head, and I was intrigued to see where it would go. And again, it's like so many people who get pushed initially and then they're not, or they introduce them and they have one appearance and then they kind of disappear. You know, case in point, Cameron Grimes on SmackDown. But they didn't follow up on it. She was the protector. She was the protector for a few weeks, and then one day they shot a backstage segment with her where she said, I am no longer the protector. So she's the protector for about a month, and then she wasn't, and then you barely saw her. And that didn't change under Triple H. You can't all put that at the feet of Vince McMahon and say, well, Vince McMahon didn't know what to do with Xia Li. He didn't, but neither did Triple H. So if you're a Xia Li fan and you're upset that she's gone, you got to hold his feet to the fire on that as well, because he could have done something with her and he opted not to. Now, Zion Quinn, because I know there's going to be a lot of people who don't watch NXT or never saw Zion Quinn. They don't know what he looks like. I mean, looks-wise, he had a good look to him, but that's pretty much where it ended. I watched him in NXT when he first showed up. I was never overly impressed as far as, okay, this guy's on the fast track. I don't know how much experience he had before they brought him into NXT, if he was pretty much, you know, fresh out of another sport. I think he may have been a rugby player, unless I'm confusing him with someone else. I think he came from a totally different sports background. But he signed with them in 2018, and he debuted in 2020. He was involved in maybe a handful of stories in NXT, nothing really major. And then I think, what was it? Was it a year ago in the draft? He was designated a free agent. Maybe it was the year before. But he was designated a free agent, kind of like Von Wagner, who was designated a free agent, and I don't think we've seen him once on the main roster since. He's still there, though. Him and Robert Stone are still working for WWE. But they designated Zion Quinn a free agent with the idea that they can use him on the main roster whenever they want to. You know what they did with Zion Quinn? They used him twice. They threw him in a battle royal. It might have been for a shot at the Intercontinental title. But it was like a random battle royal where he was just in there. It wasn't even like he got an entrance or an introduction or anything. That was almost a year ago. The last time we saw him was about a month and a half ago on SmackDown, and he was job bait for Braun Breaker. So clearly, they didn't have any plans for him, and I don't know if that has to do with the fact that he just wasn't progressing, you know, with the rate that they wanted. Yeah, they've said before, when they bring people into the PC now, they do these evaluations after a set period of time. If they don't see improvement in you after 6 months, they get rid of you. So with him, I don't know if it was a performance issue. I don't know if it was something that he requested himself. I mean, I'm sure those details will come out in the days to come, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this guy was doing big things. He was on the fast track to, you know, some big things here in WWE. How could they do this? Now, this sounds about right. So anyway, those are the three names that we know of. It's always sad to hear about people losing their jobs. I just can't sit here and tell you I'm surprised by any of these three. I'm not. Not in the slightest. But those are the names we know of so far. Hopefully there's no more, but if there are, we'll probably hear about them very soon. This is your Friday Night SmackDown review. As I said, it is April 19, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Like, subscribe, super chat. You will see them popping up like that one there from Marquand, 1976. Hey, Marquand, thank you very much. And a big thank you to Lady Fire Panda, who dropped a couple of bombs before I went live. Always love me some Fire Panda. 400 likes is the goal tonight, by the way, for Be the Booker, so a modest goal. I'm sure we could do better than that, though. And we are on our way to 80,000 subscribers. I can't get there without you. So hit that subscribe button.
It's the amazing Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Hey, damn it, Dan just dropped a $50 Gunther bomb. Thank you, Dan. Dan is one of our 79,000 plus that we have here on the channel. Let's see if we can get to 80K. Ideally in the next month. That would be awesome, but can't do it without you. SmackDown tonight opened with a WrestleMania rematch. Here, I thought this was going to be the main event tonight. It turned out to be the opening match to crown a #1 contender for Cody Rhodes and his WWE Undisputed Championship, which I'm happy to see that they are referring to it on the website as Undisputed WWE Champion. So it is not listed as Undisputed Universal WWE Champion. I don't know if the Universal lineage is officially done or not. It should be. Just kill it off and be done with it. The WWE title lineage is really the only one that matters here. But the winner of this match would get a shot at that title and Cody in France at Backlash. This was a WrestleMania rematch between these two. LA Knight won the first match. Knight had control early on, dumped AJ outside the ring, where Knight slammed him headfirst over and over and over again into the announce desk. The two found their way back inside, and Knight dropped AJ right back outside, and then followed that with a low drop kick through the ropes that sent AJ crashing into the announce desk. After a break, both men had the same idea. Each tried for a running crossbody block. They collided in midair, and we got a double down. A little while later, AJ was on the ropes. Knight did his leaping vertical jump. Almost missed it, but he balanced himself, and then took AJ down with a superplex. Only got a 2 count out of it. AJ regained the upper hand. He hit his moonsault. I love this move. Hits a moonsault off the middle rope into a slop drop or a scorpion. I love how I refer to it as the slop drop before a scorpion death drop. That's how you could tell what I was a fan of back in the 90s. I was stuck in 95 watching Henry O. Godwin on television every week. So when I see that move, the first thing I think of is slop drop. But anyway, he hit a moonsault off the middle rope. Grabbed LA Knight in position, immediately took him down for the reverse DDT, only for a 2 count. AJ set up for a Styles clash. Knight ran him, though, into the corner, and AJ countered with a Pele kick. Styles found himself on the apron, setting up for a phenomenal forearm, but Knight caught him, hit a power slam and an elbow before teasing the BFT. Knight went for it, but AJ wiggled out. Styles ended up back on the apron, and he poked him in the eye. Referee didn't see it. It was very subtle. Stuck his thumb right in his eye, and that blinded LA Knight, who turned around. He was holding his eye. When he turned back around, though, he got caught with a phenomenal forearm, and AJ Styles pins LA Knight. We got a bit of 50-50 booking here on this show. LA Knight goes over, gets his first WrestleMania win. AJ gets the win back tonight. Unfortunately for LA Knight, this match, the stakes were a lot higher than they were at WrestleMania. WrestleMania was just a grudge match. This was a #1 contenders match. So when it counted, AJ Styles gets the win. He is now going to wrestle Cody Rhodes at Backlash. They had a good match. I thought this was a good opener. They had a good match at WrestleMania 2. I think that, well, not, I don't mean WrestleMania 2. I mean also at WrestleMania. They're not that fucking old. But they had a good match at WrestleMania as well. I thought that the Mania match was a little bit better, but this was also a good match. I knew coming into this, I knew it wasn't going to be a clean win for AJ. I figured they would protect LA Knight in some way. AJ's the heel, so you just figure there's going to be some fuckery going on here, and that was where the thumb to the eye came into play. But when you look at those two triple threat matches that they did last week, you look at the 6 names that were in there, it was just obvious to me that AJ Styles was going to go all the way. It was going to be AJ and LA Knight, and AJ was going to get the win this time because he is a great first challenger for Cody Rhodes. Now, I look at LA Knight, and I say, well, all right, he won at Mania, but he lost here. So he's not going to be challenging for the title. So what are they going to do with LA Knight? Well, we have a draft coming up in a week. On the one hand, I think about the draft and I say, well, Cody is the babyface champion on SmackDown. Now, we don't know where Cody's going to land. It is always possible that Cody could be drafted to Raw and the titles swap. But let's assume that Cody is going to stay on SmackDown. LA Knight really should not be on the same brand with babyface Cody Rhodes as the champion, because that doesn't bode well for his chances of possibly becoming champion. He stands a better chance in that case if he goes to Raw, where right now we have Damian Priest as the heel World Heavyweight Champion. And I'm not saying that he's absolutely going to be champion. I actually think it's probably not going to happen, that he's going to hold the top title on either brand, but he's got a better shot at it if he goes to Raw, should the titles stay where they are. But then I also feel like, well, if I don't think he's going to win the world title, which I don't think he is, I still think that U.S. title is the way to go with him. And right now, the U.S. title is on SmackDown. Right now, the U.S. title is on Logan Paul. And I still would like to see Logan Paul and LA Knight matched up. And I still think that could be the SummerSlam match. So I don't know what they would do with him in the meantime, because we have several months before SummerSlam. But I still feel like that's the match. I think that's the program for him. That's his best path forward, is the U.S. title, which is a title he can actually win. I just don't see him being in the world title mix right now on either brand. But as far as Cody and AJ, I like the match. It's a first time ever match. First time we're ever seeing these two in the ring together. Two Georgia boys going one-on-one. Obviously, they have history. Both men were members of Bullet Club at different times. They're going to have a contract signing on the show next week. It'll be very interesting to see if they mention that, whether they mention Bullet Club by name or not. And we've had the announcers mention Bullet Club, but just drawing on how you and I, we kind of came up a similar way. You and I have similar paths to WWE. But AJ is right back in the same position that he was in 8 years ago, the same year he debuted in this company, where he lost at WrestleMania and then went on to wrestle for the WWE Championship. He gave Roman Reigns 2 kick-ass matches. I think he's going to do the exact same thing here for Cody. I think we probably get more than one match out of it, and maybe the same exact thing. He went back-to-back with Roman Reigns. It was like Payback and whatever the other pay-per-view was. Back-to-back WWE title matches that were excellent. We may get the same thing here with Cody and AJ. I could see them doing it again, potentially at the King of the Ring, King and Queen of the Ring, just coming up in Saudi Arabia next month. Memorial Day weekend. They aired highlights of the Bloodline segment from last week's show, which featured the debut of Tama Tonga, and it also featured not only Tama, but Solo beating the hell out of Jimmy Uso and kicking him out of the groove. Jimmy got whacked, basically, is what happened. Very appropriate, seeing as how Solo was out here tonight dressed like a mob boss. So we come back live, and we have a shot of the parking lot outside. A black SUV pulls up, and out walks Solo Sikoa, and Solo Sikoa is dressed. He was dressed like he was going to the Hall of Fame ceremony. He comes out of the SUV, head to toe in black, dressed to the nines. He's got the gold chain around his neck. Paul Heyman is standing there waiting for him, and he tells Solo, "Nice threads." And then the camera pans back a little bit, and we see standing behind Heyman is Tama Tonga. Solo tells Heyman to meet the newest member of the Bloodline, my MFT. And he gave Tama, Solo did, a big hug. I have been racking my brain trying to figure out what the hell this means. The only thing I could come up with was, and they're never going to say this on TV. I'm sure it's not what it means, but motherfucking Tongan. He's my motherfucking Tongan, because I don't know what the hell an MFT is. I know what an NFT is. I don't know what an MFT is. And there are people in the chat earlier making all kinds of suggestions about what it means. And a lot of people have said it means my family tree. It doesn't make any sense because he said my MFT. My family tree. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm sure one of these weeks we'll find out what it is, but I have no idea. And feel free in the chat, list out the suggestions of what you think MFT stands for, and maybe we'll go with the best one. No fucking idea what he's talking about. So Solo asks Heyman, is Kevin Owens here? Heyman said he's most likely in the locker room. The show has already started. And Solo told Paul to take me to him. Solo was out here, like I said, this guy is dressed like a mafia boss. I mean, he walks out of that SUV looking like the tribal chief, even though he's probably The Rock's tribal chief. So he may well be the tribal chief, just not for Roman Reigns. He's the tribal chief for someone else. Of course, it may take a while before we find out for sure. But this is something that this Solo Sikoa character has needed for a while. You know, he's been standing in the background, silent and looking at his thumb. Okay, great. But that gets old after a while. At some point, you have to evolve the character. He has to start speaking more. He has to start coming out of his shell, showing more personality. And that's what we're starting to see here. So it's cool. It's cool to see them finally letting him be a little more dynamic in his character, the way he was in NXT. When he was just the street fighter, we got to see that side of Solo Sikoa. Now we're starting to see some of that NXT Solo come out a little bit more. After a break, they showed the Pittsburgh Steelers sitting in the crowd. Give you one guess where SmackDown was tonight. They were enjoying themselves. And then it was to the ring. And the SmackDown general manager, Nick Aldis, who introduced Triple H. Paul Levesque showed up on Raw. Actually, he's been showing up a lot lately. He was at WrestleMania. He was on Raw. He was on SmackDown tonight. I'm surprised he didn't show up at NXT on Tuesday. To let you know, to impress upon you that it is the Paul Levesque era. He comes down to the ring and he's, whatever little kid he sees, he makes sure he goes over to the little kid and shakes their hand or gives him a high five or says something to him. All wholesome. This is called cultivating an image here. So we had a championship presentation ceremony on Raw. No surprise that we would get a championship presentation ceremony here on SmackDown. You knew it was coming. I did not know that was coming. Greg with the $25 Brie mode activated. Greg, thank you. So as Triple H was coming to the ring, we had another glitch. We've had a few of these on WWE programming over the last few weeks. We had another glitch and another QR code. Oh my God. Flash on the screen. Is that a glitch? No, it's Base Beerus. Also coming in with a $25 Brie mode double tap, he says. My goodness, what you people are doing to me. So anyway, as far as this QR code is concerned, if you follow the QR code, it opens a photo of a black hooded figure. It's basically someone, you're not meant to see the person's face. It's like an illustration, like a painting it looked like almost. So it's like a black, shadowy, hooded figure. You see a blue sky with clouds behind this person. And it reveals the message, I'm nobody, when you zoom in on the head. And when you click it, it switches to another photo showing black crows and people from what looks like ancient Greek times with a video that flashes the message, "I set them free out of the miry clay, opened their eyes while you did nothing." And then the message cuts abruptly. I learned a long time ago with the Bray Wyatt stuff to not even bother to try to figure out what a lot of these messages mean. I'm sure people will be hard at work trying to figure out what it means. I know what it means. It means that Uncle Howdy is on the way. Uncle Howdy and Alexa Bliss are on the way, possibly as soon as Raw this Monday in Alexa's hometown. That's what it means. Beyond that, I'll leave that to the experts to figure it out. Have we come up with an answer, by the way, for MFT? I wasn't paying attention to the chat. You'll let me know. So Triple H said that on the heels of, I want to make sure I do this right, because my God, he was hyping this WrestleMania up like you wouldn't believe. He said on the heels of the biggest, most stupendous, most incredible, earth-shattering, ecstasy-inducing WrestleMania. I don't care how attractive your wife or your girlfriend may be, or your mistress, your guma, whoever it may be. She may be the most voluptuous, unbelievably attractive woman in the world. You still will not get the same state of ecstasy that you will have by watching what was the greatest WrestleMania of all time. There. Did I do it justice? I don't think he used enough superlatives to describe this year's WrestleMania. He welcomed everybody to SmackDown. And then he complimented Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce for leading their respective brands, said they're doing a good job. Aldis then introduced the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. They came to the ring. Triple H congratulated them on becoming Tag Team Champions and said from now on, they will be known as the WWE Tag Team Champions. No surprise there. It's the same way it was years ago when they had the World Tag Team titles on Raw. They had the WWE Tag Team titles on SmackDown. It's no different now. But then they unveiled the new titles. And I actually have a couple of images here to show you in case you missed it. But these are the new SmackDown Tag Team titles. Take a look at those. Aren't those beautiful? Aren't those two beautiful belts? It's nice to be able to say that here in WWE for a change. Two beautiful belts. Two belts that actually look like wrestling championships that you would want to fight for. And I love the homage to the classic tag team titles from the 80s. And the SmackDown tag titles from 2002, which in and of themselves were an homage to the classic belts from the 80s. You see? This is more like it. And actually, there's an even better image here because, of course, it only took a few minutes to get them up on WWE Shop for $500. But that's a better shot at what the belt looks like. They did a good job. You know, I could quibble and just, I hate to even do this because, again, I think it's a really nice belt. I just wish, and I again, my only thing that I would change or add to it, I wish the globe had some blue in it, especially with the belts being on SmackDown. I think that would make sense. But that's my only quibble. Otherwise, I think the belt looks gorgeous. I think they nailed it. Happy to be wrong. Because I said, on Monday night, I said, look, we're going to get a version of the Undisputed title and the women's title, because they love their brand consistency. That's why the tag belts and the women's world belt and the world heavyweight title on Raw, they all have that big gold look. They all have that same basic look, right? That's like brand synergy. They want that consistency across all the championships, which I think is unnecessary because realistically, the only belt that matters is your top title. So I understand them wanting Cody Rhodes to walk around with the giant logo belt because that's what people see, right? When the Super Bowl winners go out there on parade, they have the belt with the big logo on it. When the team that wins the Stanley Cup is hoisting the cup up and they have their parade, there's the big logo belt, the baseball belts. I get it. Does it really matter, though, if the Intercontinental title, which at least looks different, doesn't look the same as the other belts on the brand. That's what I like about them. That's what I like about the US title and the Intercontinental title. And I had all the business experts saying, well, it's about brand consistency. Yeah, no shit. I understand why they do it, bird brain. I didn't say I didn't understand why. I just said I don't like it. Apparently that offended some people. I don't really give a shit, but it's my opinion. But this right here, they nailed it. So I was happy to be wrong. I thought it was just going to be another version of the Undisputed Belt. So Triple H offered them a handshake, and they blew him off. And instead, Waller and Theory decided to shake each other's hands and mock Triple H. Aldis got hot when he saw this, and he said that if they disrespect Triple H like that again, he would make them disappear for good. This guy thinks he's Tony D'Angelo here. He then said the Fatal 4-Way to decide the next challenger for the tag team titles was happening right now, and if they wanted to focus on comedy, their titles would disappear very soon. Now, before that match, we went backstage. We had a segment with Naomi, who was interviewed by Kayla Braxton, and she said that she would make the most of her opportunity against Bayley tonight and would not let friendship derail her chances. She reminded us that it's been over 2 years since she had a singles title match. It should be 2 years before I hear that again. Mr. Ozone also dropping some Brie Mode love. That's 3 here tonight so far. Hey, Derek, welcome to the channel. It's good to have you, buddy. Good to have you, buddy. So yeah, Naomi said it's been 2 years since she had a singles title match here in WWE. Look what you've done to me now. You have frazzled me with all of this Brie mode. It's too much. So she said she would bring the same energy that she did last week when she beat Tiffany Stratton tonight when she gets in the ring with Bayley. She looks forward to walking into the draft next week as the new WWE Women's Champion. And then we had a Fatal 4-Way. We had the Street Profits. We had the New Catch Republic, Angel and Humberto representing Legado del Fantasma, and AOP representing the Final Testament. Tyler Bate tried to lift Razar, but he couldn't. Ultimately, so this was one of the cool spots of the match. Tried to get him up, and it took almost everybody else in the ring helping him lift this man, but then they let go, and he had Razar on his shoulders, and he started to do an airplane spin with him, but then almost immediately got booted in the face and then dropped him. But the fans were into it, though. When he had him up on his shoulders and he was about to give this guy an airplane spin, the fans were with him on that. Angel drop kick Bate, who was on Humberto's shoulders at one point, got a good near fall out of that. Bate and Dunn, they came back and worked dueling ankle locks on Legado until they kicked their way out. AOP was dominating, set the New Catch Republic up for their finish, but Bate and Dunn countered out of it. All 4 teams started brawling. Humberto ran at Angelo Dawkins. Dawkins, though, shoulder blocked Humberto halfway across the ring. And Montez Ford tagged in, landed a blockbuster on Humberto, who was on Dawkins' shoulders. We got the Doomsday blockbuster. Got a good near fall out of it, though. Pete Dunne broke up the pin attempt. Dunne pulled off Dawkins' glove because Angelo Dawkins, I guess he's Michael Jackson or something. He's got like the glove on his hand. So he pulled the glove off and he bent the fingers. Bate tagged into the match. There was a 3-man dive to the floor from Bate, Dunn, and Montez Ford, who went over the post. We've seen him do that before. He took out, might have been Akam. Actually, no, it might have been Razar. I think it might have been Razar that he took out. But Humberto and Angel, they isolated Tyler Bate, and they hit their finish. Humberto dove onto Pete Dunne on the floor. Angel then attempted a pin after he hit a springboard moonsault. Montez Ford, though, broke it up with a frog splash. Ford and Dawkins hit their revelation finish on Angel, and they pinned him to become #1 contenders to the tag team titles. I thought it was a fun match. There were some cool spots in here. One criticism of this, you do a match like this with tags because these men had to tag in and out. And when you do a match like this with tags, unless it's an elimination match, very dumb. Very, very dumb. This should have just been a tornado match with no tags. But, Dunn and Bate, their offense is getting over. The people are into it when they're hitting those moves. They're fun to watch, especially Tyler Bate. It's fun to watch. But given that Grayson Waller and Austin Theory are the champions right here, you knew coming into this that it was either going to be the Street Profits or the New Catch Republic. That was going to be the likely match of Backlash. And New Catch Republic, they already had their shot at the Judgment Day. They had their one-on-one tag match at Elimination Chamber. So it made sense that the Street Profits would go over here, and now they're going to get the next shot. Now, Bayley was interviewed in the back by Byron Saxton, and she said that she appreciates being the champion right now, especially since she's the only women's champion in WWE. Oh, singles. She kind of neglected the women's tag team titles. I can't say that I blame her, but yeah, she is currently the only single women's champion in WWE. Has nothing to do with her relationship status. It's just that one-on-one, there is no women's world champion for a few more days on Raw. She said that the draft might change things next week, but her being champion is not going to change anytime soon. Now, elsewhere in the back, Paul Heyman apologized to Solo Sikoa for not being able to find Kevin Owens, but he promised him that he would find him, right? He's got to be here somewhere, and he promised him that he would find him. Solo walked straight ahead, never said a word. He just walked straight ahead into the gorilla position and then stopped. And Paul followed him. And Heyman promised him that, I'm not trying to piss you off, but respectfully, he told Solo that he's making decisions that are not his to be made yet. He said one day they will be, but not now, not here. These are decisions that can only be made by one man. And Solo cut him off and asked him, are you done yet? Are you? And Heyman asked Solo if his MFT is coming with him. Solo smirked, flashed his taped up thumb, and then they hit his music, and he and Heyman behind him, they walked out to the ring. They got into the ring. They stood in the ring, and then they went to commercial. So I guess they stood there for about 5 minutes until they finally came back. When they came back, Paul Heyman said he doesn't know if there is a list of the most brilliant backstage politicians in WWE. But if there was such a list, he could have just stopped right there. I can tell you right now who's at the top of that list. Brother. It's number one, and then everybody else is a distant number two. You could put Triple H on there. You could put Shawn Michaels on there. You can put anybody you want to on there. It's brother and then everybody else behind him. If there was a Hall of Fame induction for the biggest politician in the history of the business across multiple companies, Hulk Hogan would be a multi-time I guess he is a multi-time Hall of Famer, right? Isn't he a two-time Hall of Famer? I believe they put him in twice. I could be wrong. I thought they did. But anyway, Heyman, he was insinuating that he would be near the top of that list. So allow him to explain to us the backstage politics going on right now within the Bloodline. He says the premier act in all of WWE, in the history of WWE. Now the fans started a loud, "We want Roman" chant. Or the production truck did. And then the fans caught on to it. And the only reason I say that, because people were chanting, "We want Roman." But it was almost a little too convenient because it had to happen to lead into the next part of this segment. So I wouldn't be surprised if they queued it up, piped it in, didn't take much for the fans to follow suit. And now they're chanting, "We want Roman." So Heyman, after it finally died down, he assured us that as the wise man for your tribal, and then Solo angrily snatched the microphone out of his hand before he could finish. Solo started taking some steps forward. He's looking into the camera. and he starts talking, but he kept getting booed like he was Dominic Mysterio out there. Finally, he said last week, he had to lose a brother in order for him to find a new one. His MFT, Tama Tonga. And at that point, he looked to the stage and we saw Kevin Owens. He got thrown out. He's stumbling around on the floor and he is bleeding. And then we see Tama Tonga. He comes sauntering out from the back. Obviously not real blood, because why the fuck are you gonna blade in the back, right? Kind of stupid. Plus, you could tell it was actually quite comical because he comes out there and you could tell when they do these things because it is so dark red. The blood is so dark, and it was like covering the entire left side of his face. And there was like on his skull, like the side top portion of his head, it looked like he had been shot in the head and had a hole blown through his skull. So I don't know what Tama Tonga did to this guy, but getting blood here on WWE, real or not, we're getting blood here on WWE television, and that's fine when it's used selectively. I have no problem with that, like for an angle like this. So Owens, he stumbled all the way down to the base of the aisleway, and finally he collapsed there. Referees came out to tend to him. Tama walked to the ring, got inside, and inside the ring, he threw up the finger salute, as did Solo and Heyman. But then Kevin Owens came back because they were trying to take him to the back. He comes back down and tries to fight both of them. He got double teamed, though. In the end, he put up a fight. They got him in the ring. He put up a fight until Solo spiked him in the throat, and then Tama pounced on him. Tama went outside to go grab a chair. He brings the chair back inside. Now Nick Aldis is in the ring. Not only are all the referees in the ring, but Nick Aldis is in the ring. Still recovering, I guess, from his torn biceps tendon, right? It was a bicep that he tore. He had surgery for it a few weeks ago. So he's not wrestling. So he doesn't have to miss any time at all on TV, and he's not even in a cast anymore, so he must be doing well. I guess he's convalescing well. Moxley disagrees with me about the blood. I'm sure Moxley does. I'm sure he does. When Moxley wakes up tomorrow morning, the birds are going to be chirping, the sun is going to be shining, he's going to wake up, there's going to be a fucking pool of blood in his bed. That's all this guy does. He bleeds all day, morning, noon, and night. Probably looks like a crime scene in that man's bedroom. I'm sure he would disagree with me. So Aldis is in the ring, and he's warning Tama, don't do it. Don't use that chair. So Solo takes the chair away from him, calls off the dogs. They left the ring. They walked up to the stage. Tama threw the finger up first, then Solo. It's like the little things here. Solo turns to look and make sure Paul Heyman is going to do the same, and Paul quickly puts the finger up, and then Solo puts the finger up as well. Heyman is out there looking just as scared as he did last week. I am still trying to figure out this MFT stuff, but again, Solo is, he's killing it right now. It's only been a week. It's been 2 shows so far, but Solo is killing it right now. It's a nice change with him in the driver's seat, even if he's not really the one driving the car, ultimately. And credit to them. I think it's only been 2 episodes so far, but they've done a good job already of establishing Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, more importantly, who just debuted, as 2 of the biggest players on the entire show. We haven't even heard Tama Tonga say more than a few words. The only thing we have heard Tama Tonga say was backstage, outside the trainer's room where Jimmy was last week, when he walked up to Heyman and said, "By orders of the tribal chief." And that's it. He hasn't come out and cut a promo yet or anything like that. And already he feels he's part of the bloodline. It's like he's been there for forever. So they're doing a good job with that so far. And even if I'm right on what I said before, and they did pipe in the loud "We want Roman" chant, like, even if that is what they did, I would liken it to someone who accidentally or otherwise starts a wildfire, right? And it could be as simple as someone putting a cigarette, right? All of a sudden, before you know it, acres and acres are ablaze, right? All it takes is that little spark. And so here, even if they did that, it didn't take much to get the people in the building here in Pittsburgh tonight to start chanting for Roman Reigns. That does not surprise me at all, because I always thought when we got to this point that Roman finally did lose the title, that was the beginning of the mega babyface turn. And this is only the beginning of it. We're not going to see Roman for a while. He's filming movies. There's pictures of him on the set of movies and stuff. We may not see him until deep into the summer, closer to SummerSlam. We're at SummerSlam. But already the people are chanting for Roman Reigns. They are embracing Roman Reigns. They want to see Roman Reigns. And it's only been 2 weeks since WrestleMania. So imagine if they continue to let it build and let it simmer, what the reaction will be that first time we see him back on TV, or if he runs out, to interfere in a pay-per-view match. If, let's say, Rock came back for a match with Cody at SummerSlam as opposed to WrestleMania next year, maybe Roman shows up. Whenever it is, people are going to go nuts for this guy. He is going to be Superman to these fans. Ultimately when he comes back, and he'll be as over as he has ever been. He'll be more over than he was when they pushed him as a babyface the first time. He'll be more over than he was as the tribal chief the last 3.5 years. And then we will get the eventual reunion with the Usos, and that'll be a whole other chapter of the story that unfolds. Jacob Fatu. I still am of the opinion that we could very well see Jacob Fatu debut at Backlash to cost Jey Uso his World Heavyweight title match against Damian Priest. Just because, even though he's removed from the Bloodline, Jey is, if we are eventually going to get the reunion with him and Jimmy, which we will, and the reunion with the Usos and Roman, which we will, he has to be reintroduced into this story at some point. Maybe it's too soon, but that's why I could easily see it's a big opportunity for him, and I could see the Bloodline factoring into that in some way. But then I see what they did tonight here on SmackDown, and what might be more realistic is if Kevin Owens is involved in this, Kevin Owens is going to need some help. And so who would be the most logical person for Kevin Owens to go to? I guess it would be Sami Zayn, but it's not going to be him. Randy Orton, who we have not seen since WrestleMania. I could see Kevin Owens and Randy Orton coming together for a match, maybe a Backlash, against Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. And maybe that's where we find the next newest member of the Bloodline, which would be Jacob Fatu. And he helps Solo and Tama win. Now we have an all-new Bloodline. We have Solo, we have Tama, we have Fatu. And then the story goes on from there. That seems a little more realistic to me. I think Orton and Owens as partners make sense against these two. So we'll see. But again, I am enjoying the story so far. They're taking it in a different direction, which they had to do. And I'm all in. I'm all in on it. I want to see where they go with it. They have my interest. They have my attention. Now, after a break, Paul Heyman was shown walking backstage, and Nick Aldis grabbed him and pulled him out into the parking lot to show him Tama Tonga's rental car had crashed into Kevin Owens' rental car. Uh-oh. I guess that rental car company's not going to rent to wrestlers anymore. So Aldis wanted to know what this was all about. And Heyman obviously had no idea. He looked as surprised as anybody. And Aldis told him, he said, look, I'm not going to accept this savage behavior. And he said Heyman needs to make the Bloodline aware of that as well. The draft is next week. He says all the top brass are going to be there, and I mean the top brass. He said they've got their eyes on things, and he reminded Heyman that losing was not the only thing that had consequences. Because remember what Heyman said last week. Losing has consequences. That's why they lost their locker room. And then Solo would say to Heyman, you said losing has consequences, right? And then that's when they kicked Jimmy out of the group. So Nick Aldis is laying down the hammer here. And we'll see what happens now, because next Friday is night one of the draft. And then that carries over into Raw the following Monday. That's night 2. In the arena, Carlito made his entrance with Zelina Vega for his match with Santos Escobar, who was out with Elektra Lopez. They aired an interview with Legado del Fantasma from earlier in the day. Santos said that if he had attacked Dragon Lee, if he was the one who attacked Dragon Lee, he said that he would take credit for it. Oh, look at this, the trifecta. Or is that 4? I've lost track. I've lost count of how many that's been. The Juliet with a $25 Brie mode. Hey, the Juliet, thank you very much. Look at this. Look at these people. I love getting the Punk fans all riled up. They're so easily triggered. You ever notice that? It's so easy. It's so easy. Anyway, Carlito had control early. He drop kicked Escobar to the outside, followed that up with a drop kick that sent Santos onto the announce desk. Carlito then hit a springboard splash onto Escobar outside, and then he hoisted Zelina up on his shoulders, and they posed, and that took us into the commercial break. Oh, that's 4. Okay, that makes 4 Brie modes so far. Finish the story. I know, it's 4. I got 1 finger left here. We got at least 1 more to go. After the break, Escobar had control, landed a Hurricane Rana from the second rope for a 2 count. Carlito fired up. He hit a series of clotheslines and a running knee lift. Then he went to the top, but Elektra Lopez distracted the referee until Zelina Vega got involved. Vega jumped off the apron and tried for a Rana to take her down, but Lopez held her. And then the idea was she's going to swing her into the barricade, and that's what she did, except not really. She didn't really make contact. So that didn't really work. So while the referee was over breaking up the women, Carlito was kind of in the ropes. I think he was climbing back into the ring, and Escobar kicked the rope and low blowed him and then hit the Phantom Driver for the win. Not really much of a match. Carlito was out there. He looked like he was moving in slow motion, and he's looked that way in a few matches since he came back. We'll see if they keep all the factions together. I think generally they do. They've even moved factions in the draft before. I don't know. That doesn't mean it's going to work the same way this year. We'll see if they break up any of these groups. But whether they split Carlito away from the LWO via the draft, or they shoot the angle, which is what I think they will do with him going heel, he's going to be the one revealed as the person who attacked Dragon Lee. I mean, it's the story that makes the most sense. Carlito is not doing anything right now. He's not doing anything right now. So the more interesting story would be, they've added another new member in Dragon Lee who we have not seen since he was attacked backstage before WrestleMania. That took him out of WrestleMania, if you remember. We don't need all these people in the LWO. Now, the LWO is actually down a member. So the LWO is supposed to be Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, Carlito, Zelina Vega, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro. I don't know exactly what the injury is, but Del Toro just underwent surgery on his arm. So Cruz del Toro is going to be gone for a very long time. So they're already down 1 member in the LWO, but I just don't think Carlito needs to stay in the group if they've added Dragon Lee. So I think the heel turn is inevitable at this point. Kayla Braxton was up in a luxury box with the members of Damage Control. Dakota Kai said that Io Sky will eventually get her title back, and that they were there to watch 2 people they don't like tear into each other in the main event tonight. And she reminded everybody that the Kabuki Warriors were still the women's tag team champions, and just like that, Jade Cargill's music hits, and in the adjacent luxury box right next to theirs, there's Jade and there's Bianca Belair. So everybody's got a seat for the main event coming up. But before we get to the main event, we had Cody Rhodes. Now, the Raw crew is currently on tour in the UK. They had a show at the O2 in London tonight. I don't know if that's when they shot this or they just wanted it to look that way, but they showed Cody Rhodes. It looked like he had just wrestled the match, had the belt around his waist. He was backstage. And so they were going to get comments from him about finding out that AJ Styles is his opponent at Backlash. So this was Cody's response. He said he was in undiscovered country now that he has gotten the big belt from the big place. He commented on AJ winning tonight and said that it's going to be two Georgia boys going at it in France for the first time ever. He said that AJ rarely misses, and neither does he. And that was it. Next week, they're going to have a contract signing. I'm sure that'll be more. Hopefully, that'll be a little more engaging here than what we got from Cody in this promo, but they're saving that for next week. So the main event was Bayley's first title defense since winning the WWE Women's Championship at WrestleMania. She put her title on the line here against her good friend Naomi. Really cool the way they shot the intros for this, and they always do the in-ring intros for title matches. But here, like, they had this like zoomed in shot of Mike Rome, and then they would cut over to the challenger, and then they cut over to the champion. But just the way they shot it, I thought was very cool. It reminded me of like a boxing fight, the way they did it. Naomi went for a quick pin attempt and got a 1 count. Both women exchanged some offense early on. Bayley hit a pair of arm drag takedowns. Then she ran the ropes until Naomi caught her with a kick and then an inside cradle for a 1 count. Both women exchanged pin attempts until they hit a double crossbody block to slow things down. We already had a double running crossbody block in the opening match on this show. I don't think we need to be seeing that spot twice on the same show. Naomi hit a rear view for a 2 count. She went up top, hit a crossbody for another 2. She came at Bayley. Bayley, though, caught her with a belly-to-back suplex and then went to the top. She tried for an elbow drop, but Naomi got the knees up. Naomi went to the apron, hit a face buster. Then she went for a split-legged moonsault, but Bayley got her legs up to counter. Bayley went back up to the top. This time she hit the elbow drop for a near fall. After that, she tried to set up for a rose plant, but Naomi countered and worked a submission hold until Bayley was able to turn that into a pin attempt. So the two women stood at this point, and they're basically like, come on, let's go. Give me your best shot. It was like a New Japan exchange they had here of elbows back and forth. Naomi hit a step-up knee that sent Bayley to the floor. Naomi then hit a springboard splash on Bayley at ringside. Bayley came back, though, with a Bayley to belly onto the top of the announce table. And then, out of nowhere, Tiffany Stratton appears. And she first attacked Bayley. And then she went after Naomi. And I guess that rendered this match a no contest. We never did get an announcement. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but Stratton got them both in the ring, lined them up flat right next to each other, and then hit her prettiest moonsault ever onto both women, and then she posed on the middle rope to close out the show. The match itself, I thought, was it was decent. A little too tentative, I thought, in some spots. But now it looks like we may be headed for a triple threat match at Backlash. We got no winner here in this match. So it's not like one woman lost. Why would she get another shot, right? They went to, again, what I assume is a no contest here. We had no winner. Tiffany's getting herself involved. And so unless the draft is going to render this all moot, if they're going to end up in different places, which is certainly possible. Although WWE usually with the draft, they do explain that it doesn't officially take effect for a while. So I do wonder when the draft will take effect. My guess would be after Backlash. They'll probably say after Backlash, then it goes into effect. But I think we're going to get a triple threat on that show. Overall, I enjoyed the show. I like last week's show a little bit better, but I thought tonight's show was still enjoyable. I like the Bloodline segment and the matches. I wouldn't say there were any great matches on this show, but the opener was good. I thought the main event was decent. The tag match was good. So, we had some good action here. We had some progression with the Bloodline stuff with Kevin Owens now being involved. And so we'll see. We'll see where that goes as far as Jacob Fatu and when we might see him on TV. Shouldn't be too much longer, I wouldn't think. M. Mills with our 5th Brie mode of the evening. completing the rotation there of Brie modes. My God, this is what I'm gonna have nightmares about that now. That's all I'm gonna hear. I'm gonna hear that sound now when I go to bed tonight. What did you think of SmackDown? 77.8% thumbs up. That's what you thought of SmackDown. 14.5% thumbs in the middle, and just shy of 8% thumbs down for tonight's show. You could always vote in these polls on X. At Solomonster is the place to go. That is where you can vote. In addition to all of these Brie modes here, were a bunch of other questions and messages that you guys sent in, so let's go through them all here. And I thank you very much for the support, as always. It is very much appreciated, Brie mode or otherwise. Let's start out here with the early ones, which are not in the sidebar. They get their own special section here because they came in early. I mentioned Fire Panda dropped some bombs before we went on the air. Dropped a couple of them. Fire Panda, thank you. Fire Panda says, Judgment Day, can still Evolution Priest have Balor get more and more jealous that Priest is champion, because Balor could not win the belt. And then after Priest's first defense, they hold a celebration, and that is where the turn happens. This also gives a reason for Rhea Ripley to turn babyface, because Damian Priest is her best friend, and you can turn Dom face. Oh, I don't know. It seems a little too soon for that. And play it as he has to choose a side, and that's when we get the big reunion of Dom and Mommy. Absolute cinema. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. I still feel like it's probably a little too soon to turn Dom face, but the way you explained it there, where he has to make a choice, and because of the connection to Rhea, everybody loves Rhea, it probably wouldn't be that hard, honestly, for them to turn Dominic babyface. I just don't know if now is the time to be doing that. Jay Glow with the $4.99. I don't like Corey Graves as the lead play-by-play on SmackDown. The lead play-by-play should call out the heels when they cheat, not suck up to them. Bring back JR. No. JR does not need to be doing full-time weekly commentary anymore. Tony Khan has the right idea with Jim Ross. He's got Jim Ross doing pay-per-views, and not even the full pay-per-views, like the main event or the key matches on those pay-per-views. That's exactly the role for Jim Ross right now. We do not need him on SmackDown. Donnie Yasu, save a WWE career. Alex Riley or Tyler Breeze? Tyler Breeze. Love that early Tyler Breeze gimmick in NXT. Main roster, not so much. Lakers Pat says Russo swerve. Jimmy rejoins the Bloodline. Holiday 197. I'm thinking Rhodes is drafted to Raw with the WWE title, and Priest goes to SmackDown with the World Heavyweight title. They're not marketing Cody much on SmackDown. This means all WWE and World Champions swap brands. Well, I was going to say, if you think that Cody is going to end up on Raw, then all of the champions have to swap. Because you have all the belts on Raw look the same. You can't have them on different brands. That doesn't make any sense. So if they're going to do that, then yes, all the champions would have to swap. I'm not sure that's what they're going to do. The comedic genius. Why did Cody cut a promo in a closet? Well, that's what they have there at the O2. And you never saw a New Japan show when they go to the back and they have the backdrop and they're doing an interview or cutting a promo? It's the same thing. Prince Vegeta, how would you feel about Logan Paul being the one to take the belt from Cody? It'll be months down the road, but imagine the heat that would get. No. That's why he won the US title. No, he is not the one to beat Cody Rhodes. The Real CS says both Jinder Mahal and Xia Li have been released by WWE. Not surprised, we have not seen them on TV in months. Yep, talked about that at the very beginning of tonight's stream. DEH Sires with the $4.99. Assuming they do three-way at Backlash, I would belt Tiffany and have her lose next month. Nothing wrong with hoeing the title for a bit. Is that what it's called? Here I thought it was called hot potatoing, but apparently it's called hoeing the title. Well, I would not hoe the title with Tiffany by giving it to her for a month. I honestly think you do her no favors by doing that, and I think you'd be better off just having her win Queen of the Ring or Money in the Bank. She's my early Money in the Bank briefcase pick for this year. Ragnarok says, "Happy Friday, brother. What is your opinion of NXT's resident M'Baku in Obafemi? Seems to have it all and could be a future world heavyweight champion." I just mentioned Obafemi on the podcast last weekend, and I'm not following NXT as much week to week as I used to. But what I've seen of him, I thought he probably had the best match when it came to the NXT Stand and Deliver show. That triple threat match was really good. So I could see where the company would be very high on him. I think they probably are. I think they have good reason to be. So I'm impressed so far. You know, keep him down there for a while. Let him keep having matches and learning and getting better and improving. I mean, that's what NXT is for. I don't see any need to, rush him up or anything like that, but they definitely have something in him for sure. I could see why they would be hot on the guy. Anderson Blitz. Sad to see Xia Li gone, as I was a fan of her. With Jinder, the fact that his last two moments on TV was with The Rock and Seth Rollins. What a way to go out. All Elite Adam. Thoughts on Zelina Vega being released? Zelina Vega was not released. Yes, and then a few super chats later, he says, retracting the Zelina Vega super chat, I am a moron. You just got to be careful where you get your news from, man. That's why I see if you tune into the beginning of the stream here, I had you covered. Just leave it to me. Watch the streams, listen to the podcast. I'll make sure I get you all up to speed with the accurate names. You know you can trust me. Devin from New Jersey, 2000. Last ever question before I turn 24 tomorrow. If Solo found out there was a conflict resolution class being taught by Phil Brooks, would he go? Would I go? I wouldn't go. I think that would be good for him. I'm not the one who needs conflict resolution. I'm not the one who gets into conflicts. I'm good. Maybe I'll teach the class. If maybe he wants to attend, that's fine. El Masse. For $15. El Masse, man. Oh man, are we gonna have JD and Solomonster call a Jinder match when he goes to Hog? OTS family, let's make it happen. I said it earlier that I think Jinder is gonna do very well for himself on the independent scene. I've actually interviewed Jinder once before on the red carpet at a WWE 2K event when he was champion, when he was the WWE champion. So that must have been 2K17, I guess. I talked to the guy. It may be happening again soon. You never know. Could very well happen. It could very well happen. I could be calling my first Jinder Mahal match soon, man. Alex with the $5. Brothers Solo, if you are booking Backlash, are you putting the Bloodline in the main event or finishing the show with Cody versus AJ? What will Triple H do? I think you finish with Cody and AJ. Yeah. Marquand 1976, Xia Li released. Who will protect catering? That's a good question. It's going to be a run on the cookies now. I don't know. Who is going to protect catering? That's a great question. That's a very good question. I don't know. Base Beerus, thank you for the $2. Damn it, Dan with the $50 Gunther bomb from Damn It, Dan. Oh, you love to see it.
Yowie wowie.
That one's for you, Dan. If Ric Flair was the man of the 80s, Bret Hart was the man of the 90s. Kurt Angle was the man of the well, I mean, in fairness, I think you probably would have to say Steve Austin was the man of the 90s. And Kurt Angle was the man of the 2000s. Who is the man of the 2010s? And who do you think could be the man of the 2020s? Also, do you have a favorite black and white movie? I do. Abbott and Costello, Hold That Ghost. I mean, I like almost all the Abbott and Costello movies, but Meet Frankenstein, Naughty 90s, Hold That Ghost, Buck Privates. But I would say Hold That Ghost is probably mine. As far as the man of the 2010s, I guess we're talking WWE specifically here. Well, I guess we would have to be. What else would we be talking about? AEW didn't even start up until 2019. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would kind of have to be someone like Cena or Punk. I can't say Punk though. I can't say Punk because Punk missed the majority of that decade. You know, he sat out for 7 years. So I would probably go John Cena. I think John Cena would probably be the one I would go with on that. As far as the man of the 2020s, I guess we are almost halfway through, and I would say Roman Reigns. How could it not be Roman? Champion for 3.5 years, right? And he's going to come back. He's going to be a massive babyface. I mean, I know he's part-time, but to me, Roman would be the face of this decade so far. Christian Ray. Seth really thugged it out for WrestleMania. No wonder he looked like death at the end. What's next for him? Punk versus Seth at Mania 41 finally? I hope they do Punk and Seth. I mean, they were teasing it, and I think the potential for that to be great is definitely there. So I hope they get back to that. Yeah, Rollins, for those who don't know, Becky Lynch spilled the beans. She was on TV in Ireland doing an interview, and she said that Seth just had surgery for, I think it was the torn meniscus that he had in his knee going into WrestleMania. So he finally had surgery on it. So we won't be seeing him for a little while. I mean, it shouldn't be that long. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a couple months. Dev to Dust says, favorite Shawn Michaels match in the 90s. You just kind of lay that one on me, huh? Favorite Shawn Michaels match of the 90s? Me personally, I would probably go with the Hell in a Cell match against Undertaker at Bad Blood. You can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with the ladder match of WrestleMania 10. Some people might even say the Mind Games match with Mankind. I like the No Holds Barred match with Diesel. That first title defense coming out of WrestleMania 12. But for me, it's got to be Hell in a Cell against The Undertaker. We have got Prince Vegeta. You remember all the Kizarny vignettes in 2008. Says that they played them for months, had one win over MVP, and then he was released. I barely remember the Kizarny stuff. I mean, I know he was there and then he was gone. I don't remember. If you asked me to describe the vignettes to you, I couldn't do it. Like the Sean O'Hare ones, those I remember. Those stood out. You know, but I'm not telling you something you don't already know, right? Those were memorable segments they did. The Kizarny stuff, I barely have any memory of it, though. Couldn't even tell you. Rodimus Prime, besides Joe versus Swerve, what is the other match that you are looking forward to on Sunday? It's a little match called Bryan Danielson against Will Ospreay. That would be it, Rodimus. That would be the easy answer. Holiday 197, what are your predictions for the draft? Where do you think the major stars will go? I predict several big SmackDown stars going to Raw. Yeah, I'll talk about the draft on the podcast. I'm not going to get into it all here. But I'll give some predictions and thoughts on the draft probably on Sunday's show. So make sure you tune in. Greg, thank you for the $25 Bree mode. That comes from Greg. Joseph Stewart, could Liv Morgan end up being in Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy's stable, since both Bo and Liv are a couple in real life? I don't see it, but I can't rule it out, especially if she's going to be doing a gimmick possibly where she's kind of going a little batty. I don't see it. Anything's possible. If Alexa Bliss is in there, there's no need for Liv Morgan to be in there, though. Why would Alexa and Liv be in the same They almost cancel each other out. Two tiny blonde women, right? Two tiny blonde women. You're going to put them, basically, they're going to be playing the same role in the faction. I don't see the point in that. I don't think they need to be in the same group. So I wouldn't do it. Base Beerus, thank you for the 25 and the 2. Plans for Earth Day. I'm gonna be working here on Earth Day. That's what I'll be doing. I'll be working as I do every day. Alex says, with Cody teasing a Winged Eagle return and Triple H presenting new title designs for both the tag titles, do you see a new design for the WWE title in the near future? I would love it. Sadly, I don't. I don't see it. Hey, Heb, you make a great point. He says you can never have enough tiny blonde women. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying having them in the same faction, I don't think it's necessary. Mr. Ozone, they forgot to release Def Rebel too. Bring back Jim Johnston or CFOs or someone who knows what good wrestling music is. Yes, they should have released Def Rebel. Jim Johnston is available right now. I don't know why Triple H doesn't pick up the phone and call him. Seriously. The man was a wizard, the way he would work. Just fantastic at what he does. He got it, He would try to get a feel for the character, and the guy just knew what he was doing, man. I mean, he was fantastic at it for so many years. I wish they would bring him back, but they're not going to. Kevin Dunn's Beaver. Now AEW fans want gender. Fickle people. Thank you, Kevin Dunn's Beaver. This journey called life. Cameraman failed at zooming in on KO's bloody face. No, he didn't fail. I'm sure he was told not to. Jerome Eugenio, do you see Finn Balor having a match with Cody during his title reign? Balor and Cody? I don't. No, I don't think so. Base Beerus, the W logo is not big enough on those belts. Just kidding. That's what I like about it. They're tiny. They're like almost microscopic compared to the Undisputed title. That's what makes it so good. DEH with a pair of super chats here. Have you checked out Javon Evans from NXT? I saw the match he had with Ilya Dragunov. That's the only thing of his I've seen so far. And he looked impressive enough. I mean, I can't say that it was anything that blew me away, but I did see that match. DEH says Liv should go after Dom out of pettiness. That would be kind of funny, actually. Joe B. I was at the show tonight. The best part was starting an AOPP chant and then my section and I complaining about 2018 Raw. Sounds like a bunch of Sound Off fans in that section. But it sounds like to me. DEH Sires, with WWE being very high on Julia, would you fast track her to the main roster by the end of the year and give her the undefeated run like Asuka and belt her in 2025? She's only going to be first starting with NXT, I think, in July or August. So I would not rush her to the main roster right away. But I could see her being up on the main roster. Yeah, I would have her in the Royal Rumble for sure. The Women's Royal Rumble next year. For sure. The Real CS says, does WWE have to get blood approved from the network? I've been wondering this since the Cody beatdown a few weeks ago. I don't think so. I think that if they had to, they would just shoot around it in some way. I don't know, but I don't know that they necessarily need approval every time they want to do it. There may be certain parameters for whether or not they zoom in or not. Again, they didn't zoom in on Kevin Owens tonight, probably by design. I don't know that they had to tell Fox that there was going to be blood on the show. The Juliet with the $25 Brie mode says, Becky confirmed in an interview that Seth had surgery on his knee on Tuesday. Given he mentioned, or the timeline mentioned for the surgery, latest we see him is after SummerSlam. I don't know what the typical recovery time is for a torn meniscus, or if it's partially torn. I thought his was partially torn. So I don't know. I don't want to say, oh, it's going to be 6 months. It's going to be 2 months. It's going to be 3 months for sure. I don't know. I don't know the nature of the tear. I wouldn't expect it to keep him out for 6 months or anything like that, but it'll be a little while before we see him. And you know what? Good. Let him take all the time he needs. You know, the guy was busting his ass. He called himself the workhorse champion for almost a year. Obviously worked hurt at WrestleMania, now we know. The guy deserves some time off. There's no need to rush him back. You can make him a free agent, as I'm sure they'll do with Roman. You know, pending whatever happens in the draft. So that way, when he's ready to come back, he can be on whatever brand they want him to be on. He'll be a free agent. M. Mills, thank you for the $25. Very nice of you. I appreciate that. Kentucky Dried Chicken without flavor. Tama Tonga went guerrilla tactics on Kevin Owens tonight. Yes, he did. Also says, I noticed Tiffany Stratton's outfit changed tonight. Damn standards and practices. Off is the direction you can fuck. You know, there's a super chat for that. DEH says, have you seen the Def Rebel memes? I have. I want to laugh at them, but at the same time, I just wish the music situation in this company was better. Richie says, so this will be the third time that somebody turns on Rey Mysterio. Wow. It's just so easy. It's just so easy to do it. Prince Vegeta finally saw Iron Claw. Good 4-star movie. What the fuck was with that Flair casting? And that was the question that everybody was asking themselves when they walked out of the movie theater. It was really the only blemish on an otherwise very good film. I don't know what they were thinking with that casting. I really don't. Barry MK says, how did you like the old SummerSlam big green S logo they used from 2000 to 2008? I really wish they would bring it back. I did not like it. So I am glad they got rid of it. Kentucky Dried Chicken says, making a bold prediction. Becky Lynch will land a huge role for a movie franchise in 2025. All right, well, Uffman says torn meniscus recovery is 6 to 9 months. Again, I think it depends on how badly torn it was, though. But okay, 6 to 9 months, so it may be a while yet before we see Seth. Barry says, just saw the new titles. It looks great up close, but it's hard to tell what it looks like from a distance. I felt the same about the big gold title. Kentucky Dried Chicken says, add X-Men 97 to your watch list. The show is fire. I saw some people saying that the show should win some awards. Apparently, is it that good? Anybody who has seen X-Men 97, is it really that good? And Kung Fu Joseph. People will get mad at me. I'm sorry for Bray's passing, but I was never a fan of The Fiend, the Funhouse, the puppets. So seeing Howdy return makes me groan. Well, it's all in the execution. It's all in how they're going to present it once he returns to TV. Look, I wasn't a fan of a lot of that stuff either with that second run back. You know, some of the presentation I liked, the new music I liked. Some of it also made me groan. And that's fine. You know, you don't have to apologize for saying that. That's your opinion. People were saying it at the time. I like the fact that they're resurrecting this stuff, you know, effectively in tribute to Bray, but the jury is out on, you know, how effective it's going to be and how good it's going to be. I want to give it a chance to see and see who's going to be a part of this group. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. You know, it's not a reflection on Bray Wyatt, the person. You know, obviously what happened there is tragic and terrible. But these are characters on a television show. And so we'll see if the characters are good or if the characters suck. Time will tell. All the stuff that Bray did, not everybody was going to be into that. I mean, it's almost like an acquired taste. I mean, you're either into that kind of stuff or you're not. But I don't think you need to apologize for that. Anyway, the goal tonight for Be the Booker was 400 likes. We are currently sitting at 522. Man, you guys killed it. Thank you for that. Again, if you missed it earlier, here's a look at the brand new WWE Tag Team titles on SmackDown. That's a badass belt right there. Got that old school feel to it. I like it. Anyway, let's go ahead and be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Hey, and don't forget how effective that White Rabbit stuff was. White Rabbit stuff was super over when Bray first came back. They were doing all that stuff. So it's not a surprise that they would want to go back to it. Very effective. Anyway, it is time to be the Booker. And what we will do, as we always do here, is we kick things off with a tag team match. Close out the week. We had a straight, I don't even know what you would call it. We had a straight fail, I guess you would say, on Wednesday night. I guess so. We had 3 buzzers instead of 3 bells. Hopefully we can change that tonight, I hope. Well, this is a good way to start. Kick things off here with the Briscoes. Jay and Mark. That is how you kick things off here and be the Booker. That's what I like to see. Jay and Mark Briscoe are going to be stepping into the ring with Rob Van Dam and Hook. How about that? RVD and Hook. We need a name for this team. What should they call themselves? I'd rather see RVD and Hook than Chris Jericho and Hook, I'll tell you that much. But that gets an easy bell from me. All right, women's Be the Booker. Kick things off here with Toni Storm. There you go. Not timeless, but I like me some Toni Storm. Reigning AEW Women's World Champion, timeless Toni Storm. And then we got Mae Young. You know what? I'm giving that the fucking bell. You know why it fits so well? If it was timeless Toni Storm, but it fits so well. You got timeless Toni Storm going out there at these scrums, calling out Wendy Richter like it's 1985. I actually think timeless Toni Storm and Mae Young is the perfect match. I like it. I'm calling an audible here, and I'm giving it the bell because I just think it works so well. And if you don't like it, tough shit. It's my show. I booked the card. You don't have to watch. That's right. That's right. Toni Storm and Mae Young. Tell me you wouldn't be morbidly curious to see how that match would turn out. All right, here we go. Keith Lee is kicking us off here and Be the Booker. Poor Keith Lee. I would have hoped that by now he'd be in a much better position than he's in, but unfortunately his health has dictated otherwise. Keith Lee In the main event, one-on-one, with The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. I give it the bell, but it's an unenthusiastic bell. An unenthusiastic bell because it's The Fiend, and so he's got to wrestle like The Fiend. See, if it was just Bray Wyatt, I'd be a little more enthusiastic about it. The Fiend, that could go either way. That could go either way. It really depends. But I will give it the bell. So we had a nice recovery here tonight. Very nice recovery from that disaster that we had on Wednesday. Bliss fan is loving this. No, Ray is not happy. Ray would have given that a buzzer. I think Bliss fan would like to have a word with you, Ray. Although in a fight between the two of you, I'm going with Ray. I'm not going to fuck with her. Adam Casper says, happy 420 to everybody on the East Coast. Yes. Happy 420, everybody. For those of you who celebrate. J-Glow. I looked J-Glow. I didn't see anything, so it probably didn't come through. Base Beerus with a pair of super chats, and this one here says Mae Young, the stunt granny. Mae Young would kill the stunt granny. She is not the stunt granny. She killed the stunt granny. That's what she did. Juan Ocampo, after hearing what Kenny Olivier said about Brawl Out and his relationship with Punk, he seems like the most level-headed one from the Lollipop Guild. Kenny has always been very laid back. I'm not surprised at all that he would be the one member of the Elite who said that he would have no issue working with Punk. I thought that was always known, that the two of them had spoken. I don't know if it was in person or via text. I think it was via text. At some point after Brawl Out, I thought that was already known. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Kenny doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to hold a grudge or play politics, or anything like that. He doesn't strike me as being an asshole. So I'm not really surprised by that. Kenny just wants to do business. He wants to put on the best matches that he can. Anyway, this weekend we have episode 858 of the podcast coming up on Sunday. And we also, on Sunday, getting two shows because AEW Dynasty is on Sunday night with Swerve Strickland trying to win the AEW World Heavyweight Championship from Samoa Joe, Will Ospreay, and Bryan Danielson for the first time ever. The Young Bucks, FTR, ladder match. Probably going to get the return of Jack Perry as well, would be my guess. But when the show is over, you come back here. I'll be live for the review late on Sunday night. So you get more Solomonster this weekend. Aren't you happy that you get more Solomonster this weekend? Hey, Cameron Spencer. The messages keep popping up. The messages keep coming in here. Cameron says Liv is winning on Monday. Oh, it disappeared. Liv is winning on Monday. Nia will be moved to SmackDown. Lead with Solo until Roman returns and be a key Bloodline member going forward. You're talking Nia Jax as a member of the Bloodline going forward? I mean, look, if there was going to be a female member of the Bloodline, I guess it would be her. Base Beerus says 420 Taker uses weed smoke in his entrance. There is a 420 Taker super chat, by the way. Kentucky Dried Chicken says, Billy the Puppet from Saw has offered you three options. $100 million to fight Brock Lesnar, 50 $5,000 to take 10 Gunther chops and $5,000 for a Rikishi stink face. Why would anybody take $5,000 for a Rikishi stink face when you can take, what is that, 10 times the amount for 10 chops? You know, your skin grows back. Your skin is very resilient. It regenerates. So if he chops the flesh off my chest, eventually it'll grow. I might be scarred up, but eventually it'll grow back. So I think I would probably I'd probably take the 50 grand and take my chances with the Gunther chops is what I would do. Maze the Great celebrates 34 months of membership. How about that? With Jinder sent packing. Never forget that John Cena almost got his neck by Nakamura to get a match with him. Think you're missing a word there, brother. I'll fill it in for you because I remember that match. He almost got his neck broken to get a match with him. That's right. That was a very scary moment on SmackDown. Richie with the $10 super chat. Richie, thank you. If you had done a podcast in 2000 and you did WCW Nitro and pay-per-views in 2000, how pissed off would you be every night? I don't know if it would even be anger. I just feel like it would be laughter. It would just be comedy at that point. If you remember some of the stuff that happened in WCW back then, I think it would be more comedy than anything else. And Adam Casper, can't wait for the WWE draft next Friday and the NBA and NHL playoffs tomorrow. Yeah. A lot of sports stuff coming up. I saw they had Olympic wrestling or amateur wrestling on USA Network earlier. I don't know what that was, but you got plenty of sports to keep yourself occupied. And you got plenty of me this weekend. So thank you guys for all the streams this week. It was a good week for the channel. Again, subscribe. We're trying to climb towards 80K. Hopefully we can do that very soon. And I will be back with you on Sunday for 8:58 and then Sunday night for the AEW Dynasty review. Hey, Daddy Ball, dropping a 5, saying a good night shout out to yours truly. Thank you, brother. Good night to you as well. Be well. Stay safe. And for all of you who are celebrating 420, you might enjoy the little Easter egg here in the outro. See if you spot it. I'll see you guys back here live on Monday night for the Raw review. But Dynasty first on Sunday night. Take care, guys.
Fuck Kevin Dunn.